Yes, hello. So today we're going further from IO6 to IO7, Intellectual Output 7. So we have several partners in this IO. We started working with Volgatech and EMT Minal B the last year already. And we hope that all the partners which are in this IO, so it's KTH, Cambridge also, I think, will also join us, or any other partner who would like to join us. It's about global competence, like all the IOs, I think, in this badge project, getting more global competence for our students. But we would like to go a bit through IT and through serious games, so a bit more gaming. Okay, so what are the goals? You know that the global competence is the overall game to be developed in the badge project, that we want to have an open source platform where we have all these resources we develop in the different IOs, so that language and intercultural teachers could take these resources, implement them into their language and intercultural courses, and students get a badge. That's why we have that name, which is an acronym, but also a name for doing these courses. So in IO7, we are going to develop, test, and disseminate these learning activities for sustainable internationalization. So it's really about intercultural subjects. And we would like to develop, in the end, a mobile app with a serious game where we can simulate real-life work situations. And students would have to choose, do I choose this or this solution, and what are the consequences of this choice? And it's not about wrong and right. I think it's really difficult to say something is wrong, something is right in intercultural situations. There are do's and don'ts, of course, but it's really experiencing this international situation they will be in and where they have to make choices and try to make them good choices in terms of not being in a critical situation with colleagues or friends. We were talking a lot about global competence. I don't know if everybody is aware of where this comes from. I thought maybe it would be in any IO already where we heard about before, but as it wasn't, we just integrated this. It's a OECD term, the definition we use usually for global competence. You can read it, I won't read it to you, but there are different aspects, and it's really integrating the intercultural aspects. It's also sustainability, engage yourself, be open, etc. And not only in intercultural, but of course also local issues. But we really think that this is quite a good definition. And last year was the first year where the OECD integrated this global competence issues in the PISA questionnaire. So we are going to also look at this. This is 15-year-old students. It's not our students, of course, but it's interesting to see how they evaluate the global competence of students of 15 years and see maybe how it goes further with our higher education students. But this is really our aim to develop this. Okay, so maybe as we used a lot of online teaching, Tatjana, could you talk a bit about our first semesters, what we did in there and what is the keywords for that?
Yes, dear colleagues, hello once again. I'm happy to greet everybody and to learn and to share what we have already accomplished. So in order to develop our students' global competence and their language acquisition, we have been implementing a specific online training program called Global Conversations, which is computer mediated. So you can view one more key term, computer mediated communication, which is facilitated by computer technology and internet availability in a variety of applications. So you can also view our conceptual map. This is just slide number 4. Katya, will you open it, please? Right, thank you. This program relies on ongoing virtual connections with international partners, and the main portion of GC interaction was conducted via paired students, one from each course at Volgatech, IT and MA students, and IMT students. I guess Katya will explain a little bit more. I have been practicing online cross-cultural communication in meaning dialogue for my students with their foreign partners to enhance their professional and personal and language development since 2012. And so this year, during the first round in autumn, we used what I have already implemented. But then for our second tour, which was in spring term, during the spring term, we have alternated the course for the second tour and edited it to meet the badge goals relevant to IO7B goals connected with a mobile app that we shall share a bit later. And if our colleagues would like to implement this GC program, you can view this conceptual map. Both slides, so the number 4 and number 5. I will briefly comment on some of those points.
The next one.
Sorry.
So, yeah, I don't know what happened.
The design of the GC program initially focused on improving foreign language skills. In my case, English. It was English, developing global competence and engaging in conversations about cultural diversity, social responsibility, education, personal and professional values with newly encountered colleagues from a different cultural background. For Volga Tech students, there was a time of extensive preparation, both linguistically and research-wise, for each GC session. They also prepared a PowerPoint presentation for each of the 3 topics which they present for their GC partners. Both groups of students completed pre-surveys as a self-assessment tool to raise their awareness to their own degree of openness to others and their willingness to listen, to be patient when another speaker is expressing their ideas. And you can also view an example of their program's topics and tasks. This is, slide number 7, I guess. Programs, topics, and tasks during online communication. So you can also view some of our photos, Russian and French students' online conversations. Yes.
Maybe just say that most of the discussions were 2 by 2 or with little groups. It's just to get to know each other, that we as teachers presented ourselves to the whole class, but otherwise we didn't do whole class sessions. We prefer to have, it wasn't always one-to-one, but sometimes it's little groups together, but not the whole class. Sorry, Tatjana.
Yes, right. It's either one-on-one basis or a microgroup kind of discussion. And yes, we introduced the course objectives, and this is the photos, yes, were taken during that introduction. So the students also completed post-surveys, and this is slide number 9 now, or so we have changed the presentation a bit. Also completed post-surveys in, you can view some of those results, and if you are interested, you can follow the links. The first one is about this experience, the feedback of the Skype interaction while taking the course Bridges to International Education. And the first diagram is from just autumn. It was during their autumn term, and the second diagram was during their spring term. I mean, based on the students' answers. And you can also view the next slide, which is based on self-assessment questions related to how much they progressed in their English conversation skills and depth of knowledge, to be exact here, vocabulary. Of knowledge and how they use targeted vocabulary within the specified conversation topics. So you can also view their positive dynamics. Both groups of students completed reflective reports after each video conference session with their international partner. And after the course, we have gathered students' feedback about their experiences in the GC program and the course as a whole, in order to make adjustments for the structure of future GC partnerships. And I would like to quote some of my students to refer to their feedback comments at the conclusion of their course. Volga State Tech students first, and then I guess Katya will also share her students' feedback. That was incredible, I confess. I doubted myself and was afraid to speak English, but now I feel more confident. I'm very pleased. To conclude, I'd like to say that it was a great experience, as I'm sure that I would have never met such an interesting person. So thank you for this opportunity. One more. It made me more curious about cross-cultural perspectives in the educational process because I have not thought much about all the possibilities given by the process of globalization and internalization of our education. Katya, maybe you will also refer to...
Yeah, I had quite different students in the different programs. We had I had 3 groups involved. So master students and also bachelor students, which didn't have really international experience from internships, only maybe private experience. And so all of them, they said, first of all, you know, you don't meet so many Russian people when you're a student. So it was really interesting for them to meet those people, to see that the stereotypes they had were not at all real. But on the other hand, and we will talk about this a bit later, sometimes it was a bit difficult to get in contact, to find a date, etc. But they all said it was a very interesting experience for them to be able to exchange with students which are sometimes their age, sometimes they were a bit older, but they had so many interests in common. Sometimes they also discussed for a long time after what they needed to do also together because they found common interests. So all of them were quite happy with that. And additionally, for my students, there was another point, because I'm a German teacher, I'm not an English teacher. So they're supposed to speak German in class, and they spoke English with their Russian partners. So they did what you call translanguaging. So they had to fill in the reports in English, but they discussed about it in German before. They did it 2 by 2, interviewed another French student in German, and then wrote it down in English, and also wrote the report in German. So for them, it was really an experience which was a bit hard because, you know, it's not easy to switch from one foreign language to another, but they found it was a very interesting experience. And this is, I think, something which is important for their future life as engineers, because in a lot of companies here in Toulouse, we have, for example, Airbus, and all of the engineers at Airbus, they will speak during daytime English, their mother tongue, French, etc., depending on who they talk to. So I would like to integrate this translanguaging also more in my classes.
Yeah, thank you. Just to piggyback on one of your comments about the topic that they discussed, it was connected with stereotypes. I have one more student's quote here. It was really interesting to learn about cultural stereotypes and diversity talking to a Chinese guy from France. Who was talking to an Armenian from Mariel Republic, which is in Russia. So,
yeah, they had a lot of fun. Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, but it was not only fun, but they also had some barriers. Maybe they had some difficulties. So I think we go further to the next one.
Barriers, right. Mm-hmm. Based on their feedback, we have also identified barriers involved in global competence online communication, and they are as follows. You can view them. Some of them are quite obvious, I guess, while the others are less. But psychological and personal issues, yes. And that's why, we have asked them to fill in pre-surveys where we can somehow just in advance to observe some of those issues that they can refer to in order to take them into consideration. And so moving on further, I should say that based on their feedback, we have also obtained just important, I guess, data relevant to IO7B goals, which is connected with their ideas about personal and professional dilemmas that could be later used to create mobile app through a serious game. So please have a look at these dilemmas. We have already collected quite a lot of them, but here you can view just 2. And please comment on whether they are also applicable or whether they are also dilemmas in your culture and country, just as we need to create those situations or dilemmas that will be kind of, that are universal and can be used different universities.
So we will give you 2 minutes to read through the text maybe, and then if you would like to comment in the chat, if you say, okay, that's not relevant for engineers, or it is, and are the solutions we propose realistic ones, or would you think we should propose open solutions, whatever. So we would be interested in your comments, but just for now in the text box of Zoom. And I think, can I access? Yeah. Have a look. Okay, so can you just maybe give some comments in the chat box of Zoom now? What do you think? Is it appropriate to propose 2 solutions maybe? Or you can also say, I would take solution A or B if you want to. But we are more interested in, do you think this is an interesting approach, or should we do something else? Leave it open to
I see the point what John has written. So John, I will probably answer your question a little bit later and more detailed. Yes, about inventing and actually facing the critical situations.
And just to comment on the 2 solutions, just the situation is that they are initial choices, because a dilemma means a choice between 2. And of course, later they can come up, and I have actually my own method of working with moral dilemmas or professional dilemmas during their classes. But the idea is that first we introduce the dilemma with just 2 initial answers, and then in microgroups our students can think of some other possible solutions. But just to give them the situation, yes, there are 2 initial decisions, and then yes, they can wander over.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Brigitta, if you do something similar, we would be interested also maybe exchanging and sharing the dilemmas or critical incidences. Maybe you would have I know that KTH also has a data bank already. So the more situations we have, the more choice we have to choose those who are maybe the more universal ones and which are more applicable to the app.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
And one more comment, that it should be really based on their experience. Situation number 2, a programmer initially didn't foresee some particularities. This is based on my students' experience, so it's true to life. Well, the first one, yes, is imaginary.
Yeah, and Jamie, you're right. I think we should be aware of this and pay attention that we don't go into stereotypes ourselves. That's really difficult point. You know, so this is, yeah, it's really, even for us, you know, You're not free of stereotypes. So it's really, that's why I said there's no right and wrong. Also, it's just a matter of choice and trying to get along as well as possible in your professional life. But you're right, you have to pay attention to that. Okay, so maybe this was just an example, and make you just maybe think a bit about it and share with us then later on any idea you have about the critical incidences or dilemmas you might think of or you have already collected. Okay, so let's, Tatiana, would you like to add something before we go further to the B? No? Okay,
No.
so we split this IO into two parts. We have the A part, which you heard about. So first of all, working with the students, try to approach, a kind of system where we could collect the different dilemmas, critical incidences with them, and then put all those together and create a mobile app for the global competence in a serious game. So it would be more fun, but they also would learn something, and they would learn that there is no right and wrong, there's no white and black, but still you have to make decisions. The problem with a serious game, and I think Anna will talk about it a bit more, about serious game, is it has to be a game, otherwise students won't play it. It has to be serious, otherwise you don't learn anything. So it's really difficult, and we're not close to the end.
Right.
But,
we are not even somewhere at the beginning. We're still collecting a bank of those dilemmas and ethical critical situations, right? Katya, can you share the next slide? So I will start with the very beginning. So this is actually, I'm quoting our students. Though I'm not kidding. So that was a presentation that, and that was a study. I wouldn't call it like a huge and really serious research, but still a study to check what's the status quo with serious games at Volga Tech University. This is like Volga State University of Technology, with the acronym is Volga Tech, right? So the two students from Faculty of Economics made a presentation during the online conference in April. So they studied the concept of serious games, and then they even conducted a survey among 100 of Volga Tech students and teachers. The answers are on the screen, so I'm not going to read it, right? So you can see it by yourself. So anything is amended. So if you see some mistakes, so that was actually the work of students, and thanks to them. The students asked whether the audience at the university is prepared, right? So have they ever heard about serious games? Have they ever played serious games? And would they consider playing and using and supplementing learning process with playing serious games? So you see, like more than 80% said yes, so serious games are nice, so would like to not to substitute the learning process, but to include and to supplement some learning materials with the serious games. So what's next? One more thing that the student did, actually that will be the next slide. They try to figure out what are the, so is it like art or science to teach with serious games? And they actually studied the experience of George Mason University and Canadian Center of Education and Science for using serious games in educational process. And you see one of the advantages, which I would call that like really serious advantage, right? This is a huge plus of serious games. It really involves students into educational process, into learning process, right? Not educational, into learning process. They get involved. Serious games make them think beyond the box and to search for different, for various options, trying to find the way out, the alternative way out of some critical, serious situations. So they usually manage to find some interesting options. Yes, we do have a number of drawbacks. Serious games, and that is actually the biggest pitfall of it, would lack some feedback. I saw already somebody in the chat wrote that would be nice to make students comment on what they think about it, right? Unfortunately, so far, and you will see it later on the next slide, so how I see what the algorithm of Silver's game is going to be. So far, the students won't be able to leave comments on each and every choice. So probably we will think about commenting somewhere at the end of the game, but not while they are making their choices. So it's a little bit complicated. I will explain it later. Yes, we lack the money, we lack budget, so implementing and introducing the serious games into the learning process might be costly, right? So it will be rather expensive. Let's see. Next, what I did. Okay, that's already what I did. So if we come from the basic concept of what is global competence is, right, and what it includes, so it includes values and attitudes. So in my work, so what I did, I know that this point might not be as crucial and as critical for European universities as for Russian. So in Volga Tech, only this year, our leadership thought that what we lack is the code of ethics. I know that probably this is not the case of the European universities. You all have codes of ethics or code of conduct, right, for students, for teachers, for the university staff. We still don't have it. So I looked through the codes of ethics that are open of different universities, Purdue, not this Yale and Princeton, but some like middle universities in the United States, some European universities. And I try to make a list of core values that we are going to concentrate on. These are integrity, respect, open-mindedness, tolerance, team spirit, and sense of responsibility, which I find more applicable for the university field and for the real working life situations, right? So as for the core values, you won't find a lot of difference between the university life and the real working life. Next, so it was May and June, so I asked these students to come up with their ideas. Yes, to come up with their ideas, what they think, what perspective can different minorities like gender minorities, age minorities bring to decision table that makes it so unique. I asked them to write an essay, so I got more than 30 essays. And actually, John, I guess in this part, I'm answering your question. Yes, the students were actually describing the real situations taken from their life. I mean, like student life, campus life, I would call it like campus life. They were describing different situations or their attitude to wearing, for example, hijab, right? So this is like Muslim culture. Then, which is also crucial for Russia, is we have new amendments in our constitution right now. So the next week I'm going to vote about changing the age of retirement. And right now, the women will retire at 63, men will retire at 65. And the problem is that the employers will have to have these elder people, right? So they will have to employ these people. So I asked the students, so this is not bad or good, right? So this is not, we're not saying, we are not telling them this is bad or this is wrong. I'm just asking them to think about what could elder generation or older people bring into your company and what are the benefits of this. So actually the answers were really nice, and these were the real situations. I wouldn't call these like, I wouldn't call them ethical dilemmas or ethical choices, just the situations. And finally, Yes, thank you, Katya. So, and finally, this is the algorithm for, okay, so what the game will look like. One game will include like 10 screens with one situation and then different options, and finally they will have their score. So at the very beginning, yes, sorry, going back to how I see it, I would prefer to have an app for real working life situations and then campus situations. One of our deliverables is to have 10 serious games, right? If I read the proposal right. All in all, we have 10 situations. So, and that's how one of the situations will look like. And actually, I'm really sorry for my friend, but this is a real situation taken from the real industry. She's the member of senior leadership in the company that actually produces a wide range of chromatography equipment. The objective of the company is to achieve the highest level of performance, right, and to get the best salaries, to get the profit. And then the students are asked, this is of course an imaginary situation for students, but actually this is taken from the real situation. This is real. Answer the questions honestly, and their choice will bring them some points. And finally, their total score will show how ethical, or if we want to, I don't know how to skip these ethical points, so probably socially responsible you are. So the question will vary. So we'll start with a very simple choice. What is your recruitment policy, right? So will you recruit equal number of men and women? So this is gender balance, or just advertise take the best, or can be, and actually there was another option C. So would you take only men? As for right now, I would say 99% are male. Employees are male at this company, and they are not taking women at all. And so depending on their choice, so they will choose, for example, A or B. You can imagine that if they choose A, they will get like 1 point. If they choose B, or no, sorry, if they choose 1A, I mean, like that will be 3 points, and B, this is 1 point or minus 1 point. So depending on the algorithm. And another, okay, that's another screen, right? That's what you see on the mobile, or that's what you see on the cell. That's also real life situation. The government decides to close production due to serious diseases, due to coronavirus, right? What are your actions? Or one of the options, close the company until further notice from the government and lose some profit, lose the money, right? And lose the sales. Or you continue production, ignoring the risk of people getting seriously ill. Sorry for my friend. So they decided not to close the company, to work, to continue their production. And right now they are facing serious consequences, but that was their choice. Okay, and you see there will be a number of, or series of other questions, up to 6 questions. Totally there will be 10 screens. And finally, they'll get their score and an explanation of what the score means. So that's something in between. You made some good and bad decisions. So to optimize, okay, that's the end, actually, what I wanted to say. So right now we are trying to, not trying, so we had a good bank of those critical situations and dilemmas. So we will try to make them in 10 situations. Campus life, touching upon the campus life, and working real life situations.